Good evening, choppers. It's about the end of the Cordwood Challenge. September 1st is the deadline. The minimum amount is 1 rick, which is what I cut this year. I still have some hope that I'll get out and cut a little bit more, but chances are I won't. I basically don't need any more wood than this, and I don't have a lot of room. I didn't burn very much last winter. We had a really mild winter, and the unfortunate part of that is I just haven't got the practice in that I wanted to. I mean, that's kind of the whole point, and I feel like I'm just getting warmed back up, and I'm not even to the point I was at when I finished last year in terms of, skill level, I guess you could say. It's all still there, but, it takes a while to get warmed up and get in practice and get back in the zone. The minimum amount this year is 1 rick. That's 8 feet long and 4 feet high. You don't have to cut a whole cord. I think some people think you need to cut a whole cord. You don't. You're way cooler if you cut a cord, but really you're a lot cooler if you cut more ricks, because that means you're cutting more. If the pieces in this rick are 4 feet long, or if they're 16 inches long, they still have the same number of cuts. So that's what we're going for this year, is ricks. So if I cut a cord of wood at 4 foot lengths, that's the same amount of work as cutting a third of a cord at 16-inch lengths. So as far as submitting goes, the best case scenario is you go to the Axe Cordwood Challenge group on Facebook and post your videos, pictures, and comments about how it went for you and all that kind of stuff. And if you don't have Facebook, you can send me an email. If you've already sent me stuff like pictures and all that, send them again, because I haven't kept track of anything, and I have people sent me pictures of their partway done wood and stuff like that. So I need to get all that stuff again, and I can cross post it to the group. I know a lot of people don't like Facebook. I mean, some people said they don't use it. I don't blame you. I really don't like Facebook. It was just, most people are on it. It was super easy to set up. It was like, just a few minutes. And if you don't want to use Facebook in the future, give me an alternative. Do some footwork for me and figure out what's, free, easy to set up, doesn't require a bunch of maintenance. I mean, Facebook just kind of runs. But there's been a fair amount of activity over there, and that's heartening. Quite a few people have told me they're doing it. I'm sure a lot of people did it that aren't, on the group there. And yeah, just let us know, hope preferably by September 1st, what you did, and give us some pictures and videos and stuff like that. Otherwise, I may do a blog post too, or another video. I'm not really sure how I'm going to handle it. I haven't been very engaged in the whole project this year for some reasons that are good and some reasons that are bad, but here we are at the end of the season. These are the axes I used. Mostly I've been using this one. Like almost all of it from here up was cut with this Forest Service version of the Council Tool Boys axe, which is almost identical with the budget line red version of this. Just supposedly some differences in the steel, basically. Well, I'll be talking about this at some point. I use this wedge axe a little bit, even though I hate this handle. It's just absolutely terrible. It's crooked, which is the worst thing, but also I don't like the form on these house handles. They're real curvy. I really like the Council handles. I use this Buckin Special a little bit. Buckin Billy Ray Smith sent this along. It needs some work on the handle to, set it up the way that I want it, but I never really did get around to it, and I just did a bunch of chopping with it anyway. Also, it doesn't have a pommel, so I kept dropping it. And I do this all the time, so I'll do that, and I catch it at the end of the pommel. So I'll do this like that, and then it just ends up sticking in the dirt. So I do need to fix that, but that's a pretty sweet little axe. And I use this a little bit. This is the Husqvarna, forest axe or whatever project. But I have never really ground this still, so it doesn't chop that well, and I was just kind of screwing around with it. My usual collection of small axes, nothing over 2.5 pounds. This is 2.5, this is 2.5, this is 2.25, and that's, I don't know, real light. What did I learn? Nothing. I don't think I learned anything new. But what I did see was really cool. I'll put some footage at the end. Is yesterday when I was getting my last few logs up in the woods, I saw some yellow jackets, and I was like, oh no, like I'm going to step on a nest, right? Because I'm super paranoid about that. And then I looked over, and there was a king snake eating a rattlesnake, and he had it about halfway eaten already. So I got some really cool footage of that. And then I was bringing down the very last log after that, and I stepped on a yellow jacket nest, and I got stung twice. Which is funny because I was just making a video about yellow jackets and how to not get stung and how they operate and stuff. So anyway, yeah, I don't really know what else to say about the Cordwood Challenge. I hope we can keep doing it. I don't know how involved or, in the whole process I can be. I'm just, I have a limited amount of energy and time and focus. And my focus changes a lot. It's just how I am and how I maintain so many different interests and learn all this different stuff as my brain is just jumping around all over the place. So that's it's really a good thing, although it keeps me sometimes from being focused and following through on stuff. It's just, the way I operate. I hope everyone had fun. I hope there wasn't any serious injuries. And, we had some cuts for sure, but I hope there was nothing real serious like cut tendons or anything like that. A guy left a comment the other day wondering why he didn't understand why I kept saying axes were so dangerous, or why I would keep saying that. I think it definitely bears repeating from the accidents we've seen on the Cordwood Challenge so far, from the pictures I've seen on the internet, from the people that have commented and said, one guy said he thinks he would have died if he didn't have a tourniquet with him. Another guy, long experience with axes and just, made a mistake working, in a hole in an awkward position and cut himself really bad. I put axes, up way up there on the danger scale with guns, cars, chainsaws, table saws, axes. Those are like way up at the top, higher than a knife, and also machines with open gears and pulleys. Very bad. So yeah, be careful out there if you're trying to rush to finish up. Watch out. And I'm not saying you should never chop if you're tired, or I think that's just another dummy rule, honestly. It's absolutely dangerous to chop when you're tired or frustrated and stuff like that. But that's up to you to decide when you're in that state, because you don't need a dummy rule for that. You need to understand yourself and know yourself for that. And sometimes those things have to be learned the hard way. I was very, very tired yesterday, and I did actually quite a bit of chopping because I just felt like doing it, and I just did it really, really slow, and it was actually really hard. But for whatever reason, I just kept wanting to work, and I just saw it as an opportunity to practice my maintaining my concentration and my care level when my coordination and my muscle strength was, pretty low. It was really, I felt a lot like I hadn't eaten for, days. Like, what if I was really hungry or really tired at the end of a long day, of hiking or something like that, and I had to do some stuff, and you just got to do it. Well, it's practice for that, and it's not impossible to do that well, but you need to know when you should stop and when you don't need to. That's what's important. Oh, also I cut all that bark. So I peeled all that bark from this, which represents a pretty large quantity of biomass. This would probably be like up here or something like that. I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to check off and show you this cool footage I got of this king snake eating a rattlesnake.